Go.
Okay, welcome to Panintelligence Training Practical 5. This practical follows on from Practical 4. So I'm going to go into my categories and select Practical 5. I've got an empty section here ready to go. I'm just going to unpin my filters to get those out of the way because I don't need them here. But all I'm going to do is I'm going to go and create a chart in this left-hand cell. So exactly what we've been doing so far. Click the plus sign, brings us into the chart creation screen. I've got my x-axis selected. I'm going to come in and I'm going to search, and I'm going to search for an object called new business or renewal. So NB or renewal. On my y-axis, I'm then going to come in here, I'm going to clear that filter off, and I'm going to select my policy count. So total policies, whether they've been sold, whether it was a new customer or a renewal policy in this data. What I'm then going to do is select my legend item. And with the legend item, again, I can select another dimension. This time I'll get a chart which is showing me a multi-dimensional view. Now I really like to stack these up, so I'm going to create a stacked version of the chart, in this case a chart type, stacked column. I could do various things, but that's what I'm going to do for this practical. When I'm happy with that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a filter on here. Now the reason I'm going to put a filter on here is at the moment this is showing me all the data in the database. Now that's not, all that data is not relevant to me, so I'm going to select call days ago, and I'm going to do, in this case, less than or equal to, and let's put 10 in there. So just show me the calls that I've made in the last 10 days, or calls the business made in the last 10 days. Notice I get the little 1 flag on the filters to show that there's a filter applied directly to this chart. I'm then going to go to the attributes section here. I'm going to show the data labels. So we've been doing this on many of our charts. It's a really useful thing to do to your charts. So tick in that box and I'll see the labels appear on my chart. So here's my chart and I can see each one of these sections. What I'm now going to do is I'm going to override the x-axis. So I'm going to type in here, is this new business? So rather than saying NB or renewal down on the x-axis of the chart, now when I refresh this chart, it will actually ask me the question, so a bit clearer to the end user. So notice now on the attributes section, I've got a little 3 there, and it's saying that I've done 3 things to that chart. So what I'm going to do now is apply a target. So I'm going to say if the data is between 0 and 200, select a color, and I'll end up with a little color range sitting behind my chart there. So if any of those blocks are exceeding that color, I get a visual warning that something's not as it should be. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to go to the color section now, and I'm going to apply a specific color to each of the products. So if it's car insurance, and I'll go on to a nice color, and I'm going to pick a nice grayscale. I'm also then going to add another color. So I'm going to go into life insurance, and I'll pick a slightly darker gray and apply that to life insurance. I'm then going to add another color. This time I'll go darker still. So this is going to be where it's pet insurance, and select an even darker color. Click to apply that in the color, and it will now apply to the chart. So I've got 3 color overrides there sitting over the top of this chart. So final thing I need to do here is I'm just going to give this a name. So lots of chart elements. Now I'm not telling you this is what you should do to charts. This is to show you examples of them. Less is always more. But I've created that nice chart. What we're going to do on the right hand side now is we're going to create another element. And this time we're going to create a data table. So I'm going to go to the chart types, and I'm going to select data table. What I'll then do is I'll go to my data section. So I'll come up to the data section here, and I do exactly what we did in the data grid practical. I'm going to start to select my objects, and the easiest way to do this obviously is to filter. So is it new business or renewal? I can also then find the elements I want. So I want insurer in there, and let's take a look at policy count. And if I scroll down here, let's have a look at, that's what we're looking for, total commission. Now again, I'm going to turn this into a cross tab. So I can now see the difference in new business and a renewal on AA, Admiral, Hastings, etc. on the car insurance products. What I want to do now is I want to go over to the color section, and I'm going to highlight areas in that data table when certain aspects are reached. So I'm going to look at policy count. So what I'm going to do on policy count here is I'm going to say, and I'll change the operator, so if it's ever greater than, and let's put in 10,000, I'm going to color that, and I'll pick a yellow color and apply that. So it's going to highlight that colour in my data table with a yellow. I'm then also going to put another one on total commission. So again, if total commission is greater than, and I'm going to put 5,000 in there. So if you've ever played more than 5,000 more commission, I'm going to colour that section red. So I'm going to just apply that. So again, you can see the colours. They've got 2 colours applied. So I can see that in the overrides on the page. I'm going to go in and I'm going to give this a name. So I'm going to call this crosstab with highlights. I'm happy with that, so I'll click save, and that'll join my chart on the page. So exactly what we've been doing before, but we're now starting to create slightly more complex elements within here. Finally, on the lots of chart elements, I'm going to go back in and edit this chart. I'm going to go into the settings here, and I'm going to set that as a parent chart. So at the top there, I could go into the actual chart settings. Now, if you remember from the filtering in Practical 1, this chart will now filter. So if I select an element in the chart on the left-hand side, it will now filter the chart on the right-hand side. In fact, it would filter any charts on that page. So I've created a nice parent filter. Okay, thanks. Look forward to seeing you at the next practical.